Elite Facts presents
10 Greatest Rick and Morty Episodes so far. Oh boy, this is going to be a hard one to rank. Now keep in mind we're talking about Rick and Morty here. That means there are so many good episodes that we know for a fact this list isn't going to please everyone. But hey, that's what the comments section is for, so feel free to let us know your personal favorite episodes there. Warning, this video will contain spoilers, so please keep that in mind if you haven't watched this show yet, or if you do watch it, you haven't seen Season 3 yet.
10.
Anatomy Park. Starting off this list strong, we have the Season 1 episode Anatomy Park. Only Justin Roiland could make a Christmas episode that also parodies Jurassic Park. As the Smith family are preparing for Jerry's parents to come over for Christmas, Rick brings home a homeless person for what he says is an annual routine checkup. But he's really brought him home to check on the microscopic theme park inside of him. Yeah, this episode is as wild as you'd probably imagine. When a series of deadly diseases escape their habitats, it's up to Morty to shrink down to size and get the staff of the theme park out safely. Meanwhile, Jerry's parents visit for the holidays, revealing a disturbing secret that causes Jerry to completely snap. Besides all of the fantastic references to Jurassic Park, Anatomy Park is a classic Season 1 episode due to its clever writing and irreverent humor. We think this is one of the episodes of the series that really showcases the team's animation abilities and creative visions when coming up with the monstrous designs for diseases like hepatitis and E. coli, and the amount of detail in one gigantic homeless man is borderline disturbing. It's also worth mentioning that the attention to detail in the Jurassic Park satire is really impressive. All we know is that we need a Pirates of the Pancreas ride. It's been hyped up so much that it needs to happen now.
9.
Meeseeks and Destroy. Okay, let's be honest, if you're a Rick and Morty fan, there's a good chance you've quoted this episode more than once. So this episode starts off with Morty telling Rick to let him lead an adventure for once. But before they could go on another adventure, the rest of the family asks Rick to help them with small tasks. Rick then presents the family with a Meeseeks box, which creates gangly blue beings who exist to help with minuscule tasks. The main story in this episode follows Rick and Morty going on one of Morty's adventures, which takes place in a fantasy world where a village is being tormented by a group of giants. After slaying the gigantic beast, Rick and Morty get more than they bargained for when they're placed on trial for murder. Unlike most episodes, Meeseeks and Destroy shines by letting Rick sit back and crack sarcastic jokes while the other characters mess with sci-fi technology and fail horribly. The main plot is a fairy tale turned on its head, getting progressively darker as Morty's optimism slowly gets diminished. The Meeseeks storyline is the highlight of the episode, as the idea of these overly happy and helpful creatures being driven mad because they can't help with Jerry's simple request to take a few strokes off his golf game is just downright hilarious. If we had to pick an episode that sums up Rick and Morty in a nutshell, this would be the one.
8.
Rickshank Rickdemption. Quite possibly the ultimate troll Adult Swim has pulled in recent memory, the Rickshank Redemption was released out of nowhere to positive acclaim. Replacing the latest episode of the then-revived Samurai Jack series, Rickshank Rickdemption picked up directly where Season 2 left off, with Rick being apprehended by the Galactic Federation and plotting a daring escape to get revenge on both the Council of Ricks and the Galactic Federation. Using a modified brainalyzer, the smartest man in the universe annihilates his captors, the Council of Ricks, and the Galactic Federation in no more than 20 minutes, returning home to find Jerry giving Beth an ultimatum. Either Rick leaves or he does.
7.
The Ricks Must Be Crazy. Next up, we have The Ricks Must Be Crazy. This episode starts with Rick's car breaking down in the middle of a different universe. Because his car's battery is so much different than your average everyday car battery, he and Morty have to shrink down to microscopic size and journey inside the battery to try and fix it. Morty is taken aback when he discovers that within the battery lies an entire miniature universe, which Rick exploits by having its inhabitants power his car for him. Things get complicated when the intelligent life reveals that they too have created a miniature universe that they use for energy. Meanwhile, Rick's ship takes some drastic methods and liberties when keeping Morty's sister, Summer, safe. This episode features Stephen Colbert, who played the alien who comes up with Rick's mini-tiny microverse, but who doesn't know he's inside one himself. And it's the pair's back-and-forth game of wits that provides the most laughs of the episode. Much like the Me Seeks and Destroy episode we briefly talked about, this is yet another quintessential episode that really showcases what the show is all about.
6,
Morty Night Run. We can't get that goddamn song out of our heads. Morty Night Run is a very fast-paced and explosive episode, with a musical number that'll be stuck in your head for weeks, maybe even months. This episode centers around Morty finding out that Rick is a regular illegal weapons seller to a dangerous yet oddly friendly assassin named Krombopolis Michael. Because he can't bear the idea of this assassin using a weapon manufactured by Rick to kill another living being, Morty sets out to protect the hitman's target. As it turns out, the target is a sentient bubble of gas who assumes the name Fart. Although Rick just wants to play video games at Blips and Chits, the intergalactic arcade that's just like Chuck E. Cheese, Morty drags him on a quest to return Fart back to his home world. This episode is seen as one of the best by many fans for a number of reasons. One of the biggest reasons is because it features one of its best original songs, courtesy of Flight of the Conchords, Goodbye Moon Man. Put it this way, if you're a fan of David Bowie's music and you love watching psychedelic music videos, this episode is a must-see. It also features the introduction of Jerryboree, a place where the Ricks from alternate dimensions ditch their Jerrys when they don't want to take them along on their adventures. This kind of just shows how hopeless Jerry really is and kind of sets the tone for his character for the rest of the series.
5,
Pickle Rick. Okay, we might be a bit biased when it comes to this episode. We can't help but love Pickle Rick. So it's pretty safe to say that this episode was one of the most anticipated episodes of Season 3, thanks to that short 8-second promo. Pickle Rick lived up to all the hype, as it may have been one of the wildest episodes in the series' 3 seasons. The episode centers around Rick's stubborn avoidance of attending family therapy with Beth, Summer, and Morty. So how does he get out of it? Does he act sick? Does he hide? Of course not. We're talking about Rick and Morty here. So he turns himself into a pickle. As you could probably tell, this episode spirals out of control pretty fast, as Pickle Rick ends up falling down a sewer drain and butchers sewer rats in order to build himself a body. Soon after that, he invades a Russian criminal compound of some kind and, in a nod to John Wick, terrorizes its inhabitants as Solenya, aka the Pickle Man. Quite possibly the best part of this episode is the insane fight scene between Pickle Rick and Jaguar, voiced by Machete himself, Danny Trejo. Without a doubt, this episode alone made Season 3 well worth the near 2-year wait.
4,
Vindicators 3: The Return of World Ender. At first, we weren't too keen on this episode when we first watched it, but after the second run-through of Vindicators 3: The Return of World Ender, you begin to realize that it isn't just an Avengers spoof. I mean, sure, it does satirize the superhero genre at first, but the episode takes a completely dark and unexpected turn, which, in all fairness, is both Harmon and Roiland's bread and butter, since they are not interested in taking the predictable route. The episode itself goes from the Avengers straight into a Saw-like scenario, as Rick, Morty, and the Vindicators all must go through a series of traps and puzzles to get out alive. Turns out all of these traps were placed by Rick, because of course he did it. Anyway, the backbone of the episode is Rick being unable to deal with his feelings of jealousy towards the Vindicators. Also, this episode brought us Noob Noob. How can you hate that guy?
3,
The Wedding Squanchers. The Season 2 finale really took Rick and Morty to the next level. This episode had everything. It had action, drama, betrayal, and nothing but pure emotion towards the end of the episode. In this one, Rick finds out that one of his closest friends, Bird Person, is getting married to one of Summer's friends, Tammy. Reluctantly, Rick goes to the wedding. Just as Rick is coming around to the idea of Bird Person getting married, the wedding is then ambushed by the Galactic Federation, and it's revealed that Tammy is an undercover agent who then proceeds to kill Bird Person. Because of their relation to Rick, Morty, Summer, Jerry, and Beth are now all fugitives who have to go on the run with Rick. We won't say anything else, but when the end of the episode comes, prepare yourself for a flood of emotions, because it really kicks you in the teeth, especially since a cover of Hurt by 9 Inch Nails plays over the final scenes of the episode.
2,
Total Recall. Is this episode as emotional or as heavy as any of the other previous episodes? Well, no, not really. We'd put this episode in the same category as Pickle Rick. Both are just downright fun episodes to watch. That being said, even though it doesn't have that much going on emotionally, like, say, Wedding Squanchers, it has to be said that from the cold open to the closing moments, Total Recall is pretty much a perfect episode. It introduces the concept of a parasite alien multiplying throughout the house, but forcing all the characters to question who's real and who isn't. The family soon realizes that the only way to really know if someone is a parasite or not is to remember if they've had any bad memories of them or not. The team creates some phenomenal characters here, throws in an affair subplot, and closes it all out with what we will admit is quite an emotional yet hilarious punch to the gut involving the character of Mr. Poopy Butthole. And for those of you who've never watched this show, yes, that is an actual character on the show.
1.
The Ricklantis Mix-Up. To us, this episode is beyond perfect. The Ricklantis Adventure is a dark and brilliantly executed episode that further expands the universe of Rick and Morty. When first watching this, we were thrown off guard from the get-go as we were expecting to see an Atlantis-based episode, what with the episode's title and the promos released before the episode aired. Instead, we got an episode set on the Citadel of Ricks, pulling off an episode-length callback that unearths the tossed-off city's fascinating inner workings. The Ricklantis Mix-Up rewards attentive viewers time and time again, dropping very subtle but clever hints throughout its duration. Now, we can say that personally, the ending of this episode made our jaws drop the second the song The Damaged Coda started playing, as it reveals the return of a fan-favorite villain from way back in Season 1. This episode is just perfect and is a masterclass in storytelling. And that's our list. Again, we know this video won't have everyone's favorite on it, so please let us know your favorite episode of Rick and Morty in the comments section below. Remember to subscribe and tap that bell button for more updates. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.